Hi everyone, it's Liddy and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing another part of my collection tour. This week we're going to be focusing on all my shojo and josei manga. So in my collection, most of my series is actually majority shojo. So I have 33.4% of my 1,700 volumes is shojo, and then only 6.3% of my collection is josei. I'm going to be showing you that it will probably take a little bit long, this one particularly because I have so much shoujo in my shelves, but I hope you enjoy this video. And yeah, thanks so much for subscribing. We reached 8,000 subscribers the other day, which is an absolutely amazing milestone. I can't wait to see what happens to this channel in the future. Thank you so much for always commenting down below and letting me know what you think of the videos, as well as just sharing your love for manga as well. It always makes my day. So yeah, really appreciate you guys. And if you haven't subscribed already, just make sure to do so if you're into manga, anime, merch content. And I pretty much post every week on a Sunday. So yeah, you can look forward to weekly videos. But let's get into the video without further ado and let me show you everything I have in my collection. Starting off here, we are at my Villainess / isekai shelf, and here we have cross-dressing villainess Cecilia Sylvie. This one is about a girl who gets, I think, isekai'd into an otome game, and she gets isekai'd as a villainess, and the only way that she ends up getting a bad ending is if they find out that her character is like one of these holy maidens. To make sure that she never gets found out as one of these like special maidens, she ends up cross-dressing as a guy so that she would never have to take this test, because only females take that test. So then you find out there's kind of like gender bender things going on, where there are people who start to like her even as she's cross-dressing, and yeah, blurring the lines of gender basically. So that one's quite fun. And then we have Formerly the Fallen Daughter of the Duke. I also read this one ages ago, so I'm not 100% sure what it's about, but I think she gets isekai'd, and then it's kind of, she doesn't remember anything about her past life, but then this one focuses on her kind of starting to get fragments of her life before she got isekai'd into, and then she finds out that she is more powerful than she actually is suspected to be, and then it's kind of her journey figuring out her past life and also the powers that she has. And then over here we have I'm the Villainess, so I'm taming the final boss. This one is a light novel but also adapted into a manga, but the light novel is a little bit more extensive in terms of the story than this one. It focuses on a girl who's trying to not get a bad ending, and to do so she wants to acquire the help of the person that she ends up getting killed by. So she wants to kind of buddy up with him so that later on in her story he won't eventually kill her. And so it starts off her trying to seduce this demon king. I really like the anime for this, and I would recommend watching the anime because it goes in more depth of the story, whereas the 3 volumes of the manga doesn't go very far. The next one over here we've got is I was reincarnated as the villainess in an otome game, but the boys love me anyway. Basically following the same kind of concept where she gets reincarnated as, you know, a villainess in an otome game that she plays, but then in the end there's like a bunch of guys that falls for her even though she's the villainess. I haven't read this one, but the spines are so ugly. So this next one is The Princess of Convenient Plot Devices. This one is one where she gets actually isekai'd into a BL otome game instead, and she's basically shipping these guys together, but then I don't really know if the guys end up falling for her instead, and so she ends up ruining the main plot of the otome game. That is what it is, but I'm not sure about that one. And then the next one is The Villainess Stands the Heroes, playing the antagonist to support her faves. This one I got from Yen Press. Still haven't read it, but you can imagine it kind of follows the same generic formula of Villainess. And then we got one of my favorites, Seventh Time Loop. The villainess enjoys a carefree life married to her worst enemy. This one focuses on a girl who ends up time looping constantly to the same day of which her engagement gets kind of called off, and then so it shows her trying to live life after that fact, and then she ends up doing lots of different things each time in her life. So one time she becomes like a soldier, and another time she becomes like a housemaid, and then she learns loads of different skills in each of her life. And then in her 7th life, she decides, you know what, I want to just have fun. So she ends up getting involved with the person who actually always ends up killing her after each of her lives, which then brings her back to time looping. So she ends up getting engaged to him and potentially marrying him so that she can hopefully understand what happened that made him always kill her. I really like this one mainly because the main character is really self-sufficient, really strong, really clever, and I really like the guy lead as well. He's very handsome. And the next one we have here is Accomplishments of the Duke's Daughter. This one I haven't read, but apparently this one is a little bit more aristocratic and political in terms of the story. But yeah, I haven't read this one yet. And then we got I Swear I Won't Bother You Again. I just realized number 1 is in the wrong order. Sorry about that. I know you guys like to point that out. I always forget. But this one is about a girl who ends up getting a bad fate because she's always like bullying her sister or someone. And then so in this life she decides that she's just gonna leave her sister alone and try to avoid the bad fate that awaits her. But then she ends up still attracting all these guys anyway. And the next one we have is Magic Artisan Dahlia Wilts No More. I think this one is an isekai, but it's not a Villainess, but I'm not really sure exactly what happens in this one. This one was really cheap, so I ended up getting it on sale, but I know Cake Tins likes this one, although she says it's a little bit sad at the start, but then gets really nice because the main character ends up just doing whatever she wants. And then over here we have one that kind of started the craze of the Villainess isekai kind of genre, which is all My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. This one focuses on a character called Katarina, which we call Bakarina because she's just a little bit stupid sometimes, but it focuses on her trying to basically avoid her untimely and sad fate, mainly because she is the villainess of the story. She tries to avoid being the villainess by trying to stay away from the main character or the main love interests in this story. But then she ends up getting still entwined with all of them instead. But then they actually end up falling for her. And then also the guy leads as well end up falling for her, and everyone falls for her. So this is like a really interesting harem on both sides. And it has like I guess Yuri elements to it because it's very much hinted that the girls also fall in love with her as well. But it's really funny. I really like it. I like the anime. I haven't read the manga yet, but I really enjoyed the anime. So that's why I started picking up the series. And then that's how I kind of also started getting into villainous stories. And next up we have Ascendance of a Bookworm. This one focuses on a girl who really loves books. She gets isekai'd into a world where books don't exist, so she's on the mission to try and obtain books as well as write books. A lot of people like this one. I read the first volume and I wasn't like in love with it, but I can see how the story is gonna start getting a little bit more interesting, so I'll definitely continue with it and see. Then we have His Majesty the Demon King's Housekeeper. This one follows a girl who really likes cleaning, and then she ends up becoming the housekeeper and cleaner of this Demon King. I don't know why I don't have the first volume. I don't really remember. I know I got these really cheap, I think on sale. Yeah, I got them like £3.50 each on sale on Forbidden Planet, so I think that's why I ended up picking up these ones, and that's why I don't have the first volume, but I will one day when I want to read this find the first volume. And then we got Tear Moon Empire, which is also another isekai. I think it's an isekai or it's a reincarnation story. I think this girl ends up getting like a bad ending, of course, but then she reincarnates to when, you know, a different time, and then she's actually like really bratty and really annoying, but then she tries to change her ways and becomes a lot more nicer, even though inside her personality is still pretty much the same. She tries to be a lot more nicer outwardly so that people will not shun her, etc, etc. And the next one we have is The Condemned Villainess Goes Back in Time and Aims to Become the Ultimate Villain. This one I really like, mainly because it kind of focuses on her trying to become a villainess. So she's not trying to be like nice to everyone, and she knows that the antagonist of the story is trying to ruin her life, and so she ends up trying to become even more evil than the antagonist so that she can take her down. And so I really like that about this story. Then we got The Most Heretical Last Boss Queen. This one actually I think got cancelled in manga format, but it is a light novel series. I haven't read this one yet, so can't tell you much about this one. And then over here, we've got The Weakest Tamer Began a Journey to Pick Up Trash. Also haven't read this one, so not sure 100% what it's about, but I heard the story is a little bit sad. I think people treat this girl really meanly, so that's why at the start it is a little bit sad, but I really want to read this one. I need to get on that. And then over here, we got The Saint's Magic Power is Omnipotent. This one focuses on a girl who I think is isekai, but then she has like really strong like elemental magical powers, but it's not kind of discovered yet, and it's about her trying to discover her magical abilities, something like that. I also have not read this one. There's a few that I haven't read in my collection, I'll be honest. Alright, over here we have The Savior's Book Cafe Story in Another World. This one is really cute. It focuses on a girl who gets isekai into another world, but then she basically ends up asking the person who's like isekaiing her, can she have all these magical powers and abilities? And the guy's like, yeah, you can actually, because there's no limit. And then so she ends up asking for everything and becomes really powerful. But then all she wants to do in this world is to set up a book cafe, and that's just how she wants to live a low-key life. And then there is this really handsome soldier that ends up visiting the book cafe, and they get close together, and it's a really, really cute, heartwarming isekai series. I think for those who are not really super into the generic formula of isekais will like this one because it has a really cute romance in it and definitely focuses more on a fluffy romantic plotline. Then we have Villainess level 99. I think this also is a visual novel, not visual novel, a light novel, but I haven't read this one yet, so not sure what this one is about. Gonna move these along, and over here I have The Villainess and the Demon Knight. This one is an 18 plus plastic wrap steamship manga about a girl who ends up, I think she's a villainess, so then she ends up getting sent to a brothel. I think it's a mistake that she's supposed to be cast away, but then I think someone, the antagonist, the evil person, ends up sending her to a brothel instead. And then one of her childhood people that she knows ends up visiting the brothel because he's been in love with her from the moment he met her. So he ends up requesting to spend a night with her there, and yeah, it's very toxic, very red flag, but guilty pleasure. This one is My Next Life as a Villainess side story, Girls Patch. I think this one is basically a spin-off of My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom, but it focuses on all the girl characters in the story and their love for the main character, Katarina. And then we got Though I'm an Inept Villainess, Tale of the Butterfly Wrap Body Swap in the Mating Court. This one focuses on a body swap story where this beloved maiden is loved by the emperor and is potentially going to be the next empress, and then there's this like jealous other maiden court who has like these dark magical powers, and then she uses that to end up swapping bodies with the favored maiden court so that she could potentially become the empress, because no one likes her, so she wants to be liked. But then she finds out that the favored maiden court's life is not as easy as she thought it was going to be. So yeah, it kind of looks into the two personalities and kind of their lives intertwining in that way. I really like this one so far and haven't got to the point yet in which they've been able to swap back into their bodies, so we'll see how it develops there. And then over here we have My Happy Marriage, which is a really, really sweet shoujo story that I actually started reading online before it got licensed and really loved it, mainly due to how emotional and impactful it was. But it basically focuses on a story about a girl. It kind of has like a Cinderella story vibe. A girl who's in a, stepmother's household now due to her real mother passing away. Her dad also is really mean, doesn't take care of his own daughter, and then so this stepmom comes in and stepsisters come in, and they're really, really horrible to this girl called Mio, who I have an android of, and they basically treat her like a servant, as it is in Cinderella. And then one day her dad wants to send her off basically, and she ends up getting betrothed to a guy called Kyoka, and he is known to be really cold, really scary, heartless, but then she ends up going to stay with him now that they're engaged to basically see what he's like. And then he ends up kind of warming up to Mio because she's not the usual pompous, bratty, noble that he's used to when he's getting set up. And so, they start to bond together and discover things about each other, and he basically starts to take care of Mio, and then Mio starts to open up and also deal with traumas of her past. It's really heartwarming, super sweet. Love this shoujo series a lot if you haven't read it already. There is an anime as well if you're interested in. Next up, we have Dazzle, a josei manga which follows a girl who ends up getting kicked out of her house by her dad to go out and see the world. She's only like 16, which is a little bit weird, but she ends up meeting a mysterious guy called Alzid. I don't remember, I think it's Alzid guy, also seeking revenge, and his companion Barokit, and they end up all traveling together and encountering weird, strange towns, magical events, and also uncovering dark secrets about their past. So yeah, this one is a little bit strange. I really enjoyed it when I was younger and I found it very weird. Yeah, it was one that I got obviously ages ago when I was in my teens, mainly because as you can see it's the old Tokyo Pop label, and this shelf is actually all my older Tokyo Pop series, so yeah, ones that are quite rare in my collection. And then the next one over here we've got is DN Angel, which it follows a guy called Daisuke, and he has inherited this family curse that basically transforms him into this phantom thief called Dark, and he ends up transforming into this character every time he feels very strong romantic feelings, and so he ends up having to navigate this with school and also first loves, and then he also goes on these heists as well. That is something traditional in his family, where he has to constantly try and take something from these museums and trying to evade the authorities and yeah, try to not get captured while also dealing with this mysterious rival called Crad. So yeah, this one I really enjoyed when I was younger. Ended up going on a hiatus for a very long time, so I never got to finish it, and obviously it never published, I think, the full series. I'm not 100% sure, but obviously Tokyo Pop went bust, so a lot of these series ended up not finishing. I still haven't finished or seen the ending of this series, so I really have to go back and read it and then read it online or something to see how it ends. I think it ended at 13 volumes, so yeah, definitely one that I need to finish. And then over here we have one of my favorite series, which is Gakko and Alice. This one, the anime, was one of my favorites that I watched when I was in high school with one of my best friends, and it basically follows a girl called Mikan, or Sakura Mikan, and she basically ends up going into a school for very gifted children with these unique abilities called Alice's. Her best friend actually ends up getting taken there, and then she really misses her best friend, so ends up going to find her, and then she runs into a teacher, and then the teacher finds out that she also has this special ability and gets admitted into the school, and then it basically follows her journey in discovering what her Alice does or is, and then also having these like fun little adventures with her, fellow classmates and friends. And I just love the friendships in this story, and just like a magical school setting I also really love in general. Just a really great series. I love the anime so much. I wish this would get a reprint so people can actually experience the story as well more accessibly, because this is such a hard series to find. I think it's plus 20 volumes, and I only obviously own 6 of the volumes, and as you can see the 6th volume is completely dying, so I would love to own Gakko and Alice as a set, possibly one day in the future. Please someone license it. And then also one of my childhood favorites, this is probably one of the first mangas that I ever bought and owned, so this is like a really precious manga in my collection, but this is Kotocha Sana's Stage. It basically follows a girl called Sana who is a child actress, and she ends up navigating school life because there is a guy in her class called Akito, and he is causing trouble in her class, always causing chaos, always like bullying the girls and bullying people. He has a really sad or not very nice home life, so that's why he is kind of acting out at school because of this. And then what Sana does is end up trying to figure out why he's like that, and then also kind of change things for the better for him. And so she kind of meddles into his life and then finds out the real reason why he's like so mean to everyone and always like causing trouble at school. And then they end up through this getting a lot closer together. Like, this is one of the best coming of age stories that I've ever read, and it remains one of my most nostalgic favorites. So if you ever get the chance to read this story, I would definitely recommend you to try Kodacha out if you can. Obviously, it's not really easily available at the moment. You know, I wish they would also relicense this one like they did Marmalade Boy. I'd rather they have done that to this series than Marmalade Boy, but that's another story. But yeah, this one is really, really great, and I've reread this multiple times during my childhood. I've borrowed it to a lot of friends. This also has gone with me to 3 international travels, so I've had it for a very, very long time. And the next one here on this shelf, and my last Tokyo Pop series from back in the day, is Tokyo Mew Mew. This is also one of the quintessential magical girl series back in the day, and this one kind of focuses on a younger age group, I would say, than Sailor Moon. Focuses on a girl called Ichigo and her crush for this guy, and then she ends up, through a turn of events, ending up inheriting this gene of a cat, and then able to transform into this cat-like caricature, and then is trying to please save the world from these aliens who are trying to invade Earth. And then she ends up having the task to find the other members so that they can come together and help save the planet. This one is one that I really, really enjoyed when I was younger, but I have reread it since, and now that I'm in like my 30s, yeah, this one definitely is something that I liked when I was a lot younger and not so much at my age at the moment. Alright, we're down to the next shelf, and we've got here Usatoki Rhetoric, and this series focuses on a girl who can hear lies when spoken, and then she ends up teaming up with this detective that she meets along the way, and then they solve mysteries together. That's all I know about this series because I've only read the first volume. Then over here we have Lovesick Ellie, which is a shojo manga series about a girl who has kind of like a secret account, something like a Twitter account, where she kind of airs her, I guess, perverted thoughts about this one classmate that she has, and then that classmate ends up finding out that account and finding out that it's her, and then things happen from there. I don't actually know or how the story develops, mainly because I've only read the first volume. And then over here we have My Love Story with Yamada-kun. This one I also haven't read yet, but this one I think is a college-based romance story. I think this guy likes playing games, and then she runs into her ex and then asks him to pretend to be her boyfriend so that she can not look so bad in front of her ex who dumped her. The next one here we have is Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts. This one is a fantasy-based series about a girl who ends up becoming the next sacrificed bride to one of the beasts, but then she finds out a lot more about, you know, this nation and their practices, and also the king of the beasts itself, and apparently it's a very heartwarming story. Then over here we have Teen Exorcist. I have not read this one yet, but this got sent to me by Empress, so I have no idea what it's about, but I can imagine it's about like supernatural elements to it. Then over here we have We Can't Just Do Plain Love. This one is a 18 plus manga about a guy who has an issue where he gets aroused very easily when he's around women due to something that happened in his past, and his colleague who ends up making a deal with him to try and help him with his condition. So she's going to try and help him get over the trauma or the issue that he has, because she also has a fetish where she really likes his smell. So kind of a win-win situation here. But yeah, this one's very steamy. And then over here we have Beasts of Abigail. This one focuses on a girl, I think her name was Nina. I read this like ages ago, but this one is about a girl who ends up getting kind of involved in a society where there are beast people. So they are like half beasts. They have like beast is and features and stuff like that over here, as you can see. And they are basically in this academy that is controlled by humans, because I think back in the day there was a war between the beasts and the humans, and the humans obviously want to control the beasts because they have special magical abilities. They're more powerful than humans, and obviously humans want to contain that so they don't riot and take over the world. So she ends up getting caught up in that, and then also trying to figure out how she can escape and also free the people who are trapped in this confinement. And then we've got daily report about my witch senpai. This one is a interesting urban fantasy where it's set in an urban setting, but it focuses on a witch, and she is just a normal worker, but then obviously she's a witch, and then she starts having a romantic relationship with one of her colleagues at work. And then this one is Kuma 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 Bear. This one I was surprised. It was actually a shojo. I think it's a shojo or josei, I don't remember, but it is an isekai about a girl who gets reincarnated into one of her favorite games. Alright, and down here we have next stack of shoujo josei manga, and we got Aria of the Beach Forest. Volume 1 is on my other shelf because I was using it to film. If you've watched my recent video, which is one of my top 10 favorites of 2024, this was on that list because it's really, really good. But it's basically about a girl who is secluded in a kind of cute little cottage. She only stays there because I think her grandma before used to say that it's quite dangerous for witches to go out into the real world, so she just kind of is confined. But then her life ends up changing due to her finding a white wolf out in the snow. He's collapsed there, so she brings him in, and then they start a really nice friendship, and then she starts to venture out into the real world and makes some other friends and stuff, and it's just really, really cute, really, really wholesome. Love this one. And then we have A Sign of Affection, which is a really, really popular shoujo series about a girl called Yuki who is deaf, and then she ends up starting a really, really sweet and wholesome relationship with a guy called Itsuomi. He is really interested in languages and traveling, and so he kind of takes an interest in Yuki due to obviously she can't hear, so then he starts learning sign language. Very, very sweet, very, very cute. Love the art in this one. Then we got Beauty and the Beast of Paradise Lost. This one is by a really, really well-known author, Kaoru Yuki, who did some interesting work back in the day, like Godchild and also Angel Sanctuary, which I actually haven't read. I was never one that was really into Kaoru Yuki's work, but this is the first one that I own of her. Still haven't read it. I'm assuming it is a Beauty and the Beast type of retelling, but a little bit more darker. Then we got Don't Call It a Mystery. This one also have not read yet, but this is the same person who did Bizarra. I think this guy is really good at solving mysteries, but he is not really bothered about it, so then he ends up just kind of being very casual. That's all I know. Not sure if that's correct. And then over here we have Fruits Basket. Still haven't finished collecting. I've got gaps here, obviously, but this one is like a classic shoujo series back in the day. It's basically about a girl who is orphaned, and then she ends up running into a family and finds out that every member of the family is been cursed by the Chinese zodiac. So when they feel like stress or heightening emotions, or they hug the opposite gender, they turn into the animal in which their zodiac represents. So one of them turns into like a rat. I only actually watched Fruits Basket. I've never read it before, so that's why I started to collect it. And yeah, I need to read it to see how much more depth it goes into, because I remember when the anime finished, I felt like I wanted more and I needed to know more. So yeah, I need to get on this. Alright, and then the next one we have is How I Met My Soulmate. This one is a college-based romance where it focuses on a girl who's trying to basically find her soulmate. She ends up meeting a guy, becomes friends with him, and then he's trying to help her find her soulmate, but then he's obviously going to start having feelings for her. But then she ends up rekindling her friendship and kind of an old flame with a guy that she used to fancy back in the day. And then we got In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, which is a really nice series. Honestly, the first volume I didn't really love at first, but then as I read further into the story, it made me feel really nostalgic and a lot of butterflies whilst I was reading it. But it's about a school with two princes. One of the princes is a girl and one of the princes is a guy. The girl prince is dubbed a prince because she just like has a very androgynous appearance, but also she's just really cool and suave. And then the two princes end up meeting and they start to form a bond with each other through lots of different events, and then so like a romance starts to blossom between the two princes. Apologies for my shoddy camera work here. This is the bottom shelf, so it's really hard to capture everything. But the next one is I See Your Face Turned Away. This one focuses on a group of friends and kind of their love for each other, and I guess unrequited love is there as well. So yeah, this one is really interesting. I like the first volume and interested to read more. And the next one we have is Night of Ice. This one focuses on ice skating. One of the guys is trying to make it in the competitive ice skating industry, and then he also has a childhood friend, and then I think it focuses on their relationship development as well as him trying to do well in his ice skating career. And then the next one we got is Last Game. This one I also haven't read yet, but I've not heard amazing things about it. Apparently this one is about two people at school and they're trying to compete to be like the best student or in the academics. I guess it's kind of like Kaguya-sama, but yeah, I haven't really heard that many good things about it. And then we got Marmalade Boy, which is also another classic shoujo series that got a collector's edition reprint. But this one focuses on a character who her parents end up divorcing, and then they also end up meeting another couple, and then they end up swapping husbands and wives. So it's really weird, really strange, very much in its time. The person and the couple that they end up switching kind of their partners with, they also have a son, and then I think it's the relationship that blossoms between them, so it's kind of like a step sibling plot. And the next one we have is My Androgynous Boyfriend. This one focuses on a story where there is this couple and one of the guys is androgynous, so he looks very feminine and girly, and his girlfriend really likes that about him and always praises him for how beautiful he looks. And yeah, it's just a really sweet slice of life romantic comedy, I guess. And then we got Nina the Starry Bride, which is another fantasy story. Focuses on an orphan girl who ends up getting bought from the streets because she looks pretty much identical to a princess that ended up passing away. So they end up training her up to become a replacement for this princess, and then she ends up getting betrothed to a guy from another kingdom, and yeah, things happen there. There's also love triangles going on. And then we got The Eccentric Doctor of the Moonflower Kingdom. A lot of people say this is kind of like Apothecary Diaries with a bit more romance involved, but I think this one focuses more on like medicine rather than apothecary things. Then we got The Ice Guy and the Cool Girl. This one I enjoyed, but I don't think I'll be picking up any more anytime soon, mainly because the volumes are so thin and the story is quite episodic. But it focuses on a girl who ends up having a colleague who has like a, I guess, spirit that got passed down to him from like a snow spirit. So he ends up like bringing down icicles and also like snowfall depending on like his mood. And yeah, it's just really, really cute. And then we got Past the Monster Meat My Lady. I have not read this one, but I think it's about a girl who really likes eating monster meat. And then a lot of people find that weird, but then she ends up finding someone who kind of shares her interest, something like that. And then we got Opposites Attract, also one I still haven't read yet. I got this at the Kodansha stand in MCM Expo because Caitlin said that this was really good and heartwarming. And then we got Reliving My Life with a Boyfriend Who Doesn't Remember Me. I think this is a reincarnation story where the girl goes back to her former life and then finds out that her boyfriend doesn't remember her, and then she is on the mission to make him remember her again. And then we got Wake Up Sleeping Beauty. This one is by the same person who did A Condition Called Love. I think from what I remember, it's about a girl who has like two split personalities. So when she like wakes up she can wake up into like another personality, something like that. I remember it was a bit supernatural and a bit strange, but yeah, still need to finish reading this one. Alright, so we're up on my other shelf now, and I just want to show you the box sets that I have. And I've got Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind up here, and then also Orono High School Host Club. I don't know if these two need an explanation, but yeah, got these box sets up here. And then over here I have my Ayazawa works. We got The Last Quarter, which I have not read yet, but I heard it's a little bit more of a darker story from Ayazawa, although Ayazawa's work is quite dark in some areas, honestly, but I heard this one's quite dark. And then we got Neighborhood Story, which focuses on a protagonist that was the sister of one of the other characters in Paradise Kiss, and it focuses on her, I think she's like a fashion student or something like that. And then we got Paradise Kiss, which focuses on a girl who goes to school, has a pretty mundane life, and then gets scouted to become a model for this atelier. So she ends up meeting lots of interesting people during the time when she's doing her modeling. This one is really good, but also quite deep and a little bit sad and bittersweet in many ways. And then over here we've got Aishiteru as a Baby. This one is another shoujo series that I got ages ago, like when I was just starting out reading manga. So this one has been in my collection for probably like plus 10-15 years. But this one is about a kind of playboy guy who ends up having to take care of his niece because his aunt basically left her kid, and then he ends up becoming the sole caretaker for this child so that he can kind of start, growing up. And then so he starts to learn to take care of this child and start to bond with her, and then he also starts to mature as he realizes, the responsibilities it takes to take care of a child. And then of course here we have Nana, which is a super well-known and beloved series that has been on hiatus for probably a decade, but it focuses on two girls with the same name, Nana, and they meet on a train, and then their worlds basically start to intertwine, and there's lots of really heartbreaking moments and just like so much just sadness. Honestly, this one is definitely one you have to read if you want something emotional and a wild ride. And then over here we have Hanikimi, which is also a very, very well-beloved series back in the day. This one is about a girl who really admires this, I don't remember what exactly sport it was, but she really admires this competitive sports player, and then she ends up applying to his school so that she can see him, but then it's an all-boys school, so she ends up cross-dressing as a boy to get admitted into this school so that she can see the person she admires a lot. And then we got Red River, which is a re-release of an older series. I think this one is an isekai, but I'm not sure, but I haven't read it yet. But there's been a lot of hype for this, so obviously I had to purchase it and also support the shoujo industry. Then over here we have Kimi ni Todoke, which is also a classic shoujo series that a lot of people love and feel nostalgic towards, but this one is a really good coming of age story of a girl who is basically feared by her classmates, mainly because she has very gloomy disposition. She also has really long black hair, so people compare her to Sadako from The Ring, but her name is Sawako, and then with the help of this guy called Kazehaya, who is very refreshing and very popular, they kind of start becoming friends, and then she starts to open up, and then it also helps her become more confident at talking to people in her class, and then also making friends through that. So it's a really, really cute coming of age story. And then we have QQ Super and Queen's Quality, which are kind of intrinsically linked. QQ Super is kind of the prequel story, and then Queen's Quality is the kind of continuation. I don't actually know exactly how they're linked because I haven't read the story yet. Yes, I collected pretty much all of it, and I've only read QQ Super Volume 1. But the thing is, it took so long for QQ Super Volume 1 to come back in print. I don't actually know if it was like leftover stock, but it was really hard to find QQ Super Volume 1 at one point. If you know, you know. So I read the first volume, and it's basically about this girl who has the ability to be able to sweep away bad omens. Like I think it's within her family tradition or something. And so they're like, when people have really heightening bad emotions, they end up bringing out like evil spirits, and then she is able to like sweep them away. And I think there's a guy that ends up joining her in this cleaning project. See, I'm really bad at explaining, sorry, but that's pretty much all I know. And then the end we have here is Imokoi. This one is a shoujo series about a girl who gets saved on the train from getting groped by a guy. She ends up falling in love with him there and then, and confesses to him to ask him to become her boyfriend, and he says yes. So they end up starting to date, and that's kind of where the story starts. So it's a shoujo series where they end up getting together quite quickly. I read that one. It was okay in my opinion. I'm trying to get rid of the first one if it's something that you are interested in buying off me. And then I got loads of little trinkets here. We've got Requiem of the Rose King, the entirety of the series, which is 1 to 17. And this one focuses on a period of England during the War of the Roses, where there's like two houses, House of York and House of Lancaster, and they both are fighting for the rightful throne. And then there's this guy or girl, she's kind of gender neutral. I don't really know exactly, but I think she has both female and male anatomy, and it's basically, their name is Richard, and they become involved in this war between the houses. And then over here we have Tammon's B-side, which is a story about a girl who is obsessed with this guy called Tammon. He is an idol, and then she ends up finding out that Tammon outside of his idol is very, very different to his usual self, and so it kind of explores the idol culture. And yeah. And then over here we have The King's Beast, which is another supernatural story based on the same world of Dawn of the Arcana, which is another Ray Toma work, but it focuses on a girl who ends up going undercover as a boy so that she can infiltrate the palace and seek revenge on her brother who was wrongly killed. And she ends up becoming the beast servant of one of the princes in the palace, and then she ends up finding out a lot of different things about things that are going on in there, as well as other mysteries involved. And yeah, I like this one. It was a bit of a slow burner at the start. I kind of felt like the girl was a little bit too blushy and kind of got distracted from her revenge quite a few times, but I still am enjoying this series actually the more I read it. And then over here we have, of course, Sailor Moon, the entirety of the series. I actually also have the collector's editions because my husband bought it for me, but this is Sailor Moon. I'm pretty sure you know it's the quintessential magical girl series that pretty much started it all, and it's gotten a lot of different editions here and there because it's just really, really famous. But it focuses on a girl called Usagi who discovers that she is one of the Sailor Senshis who are there to save the planet. And yeah, there's actually a lot of depth into the story that I read recently, and it actually gets quite confusing, and there's a lot of like backstory. Yeah, it was really surprising to me because I pretty much only grew up on the anime. And then over here we have two really long running series on one shelf, and we have Yona of the Dawn. I have up to volume 41, and this one is obviously about a girl who ends up having to run away from her home, which is in the palace, due to someone who she trusts ends up betraying her, and she runs away with someone that she really trusts called Hack, and then they end up going on an adventure to find the 7 dragons that will help her reclaim her throne again. And yeah, this one is a really good action adventure with a subplot of romance, but yeah, it's really, really good. Very well beloved in the shoujo. And if you're also wanting to try shoujo series because you've never really delved into it, I definitely recommend this one because this one has like really good action and adventure and like a lot of political intrigue. And the next large series I have is Skip Beat. I have
49 volumes on her, and I've managed to like squish Yona the Dawn, the whole series, and then Skip Beat on this one shelf. Don't ask me why I did that. I just randomly did that one day and I just left it like that. But Skip Beat is about a girl who ends up following her longtime crush to Tokyo to help him succeed in his dreams of becoming a very famous singer. She ends up finding out that he was basically using her the whole time for like money and cleaning and basically being his maid. And then once she finds that out, she swears to seek revenge on him and also enter the entertainment industry and beat him and become a better entertainer celebrity than him. And obviously it doesn't happen overnight. That's why we are at like 49 volumes. But yeah, she ends up getting into acting and then goes through a lot of things, meets lots of people, makes loads of like friends as well as enemies. And yeah, it's just a really, really good series. If you haven't read Skip Beat, definitely one to check out for sure. I think I would recommend Yona the Dawn and Skip Beat if you're looking for some shojo series that have like subplot of romance but more involved in the like action and kind of adventure type of stories. And then over here we have another nook of josei series, and we've got A Story of Seven Lives. This one, all I know is it's about cats and it's also quite sad. So I haven't read it yet, but I need to read this one. And then we got I Want to Be a Wall, which focuses on a character who is asexual, and then she also finds and befriends someone who is gay, but obviously he's not openly gay and she's also not openly asexual, but they end up kind of becoming married as like an arranged marriage between them so that they can kind of live their lives as they want to without having to expose themselves. And then it just focuses on that, and it's really, really sweet, really, really nice. And then we got Blank Canvas, which is by the same author who did Princess Jellyfish. This one focuses on her, like it's more of like an autobiographical work of her journey to become an artist. And then here we've got Sketchy. This is actually not a josei. I got baited by Kodansha saying it was a josei, but it's actually a seinen, but I haven't moved this yet. But I think this one focuses on a group of females and like skating. That's all I know. And then we've got Tokyo Tarareba Girls, also by Akiko Higashimura, who did Princess Jellyfish. This one focuses on a group of women who are in Tokyo, and that's all I know about it, but they're quite eccentric like they are in Princess Jellyfish. And then we got Waterkoi, which is a really sweet series. It focuses on a group of otaku who really like playing games. It's kind of like a slice of life, showing their lives together. And then childhood friends end up dating because they just end up being like, do you want to date? And then yeah, it focuses on really fun hijinks that they go through in life. And some stragglers down here. We got Nodame Cantabile. This one focuses on two people who meet and they are really into music. I think one plays the piano and one plays the flute or something. I'm not really sure. But this one is also a very old one that never got fully printed. So this is all I own of the series at the moment. But yeah, I'm missing volume 13 and 14. But they are really hard to get. And then down here we've got some Arina Tanemura work. We've got Phantom Thief Jean, which is a magical girl series. I don't remember what it's about though. And the next one is Full Moon, and this focuses on a girl called Mitsuki. She has a throat condition, but she really, really loves singing. And then one day the Shinigamis grant her a wish to try and make it into the industry before she dies, and so she ends up entering the entertainment industry to become a singer. And she actually, when it happens, she actually ages up as well so that she can actually become a singer, because I think she's only 16 in her real body. But yeah, a lot of things happen in this one, quite emotional. And then over here we got The Gentleman's Alliance, which was a very interesting and confusing series. If you've read it, you understand. But it's basically about a girl who enters this school, and I think she enters like the council members society so that she can be close to a guy that she fell in love with at first sight. And yeah, a lot of weird things happen in this one, a lot of like mysteries and plot twists, but they're very, very strange. But yeah, I really enjoyed this when I was younger, so If you're looking for like a weird and strange shoujo series that you will like enjoy but find it very strange, then definitely check this one out. And then we got Sakura Hime over here. Very disappointed in this series. I did not enjoy it. This one, I don't really remember what it's about, but I think it's about the girl called Sakura. She's betrothed to a guy, and then she tries to run away because she doesn't want to marry him, but then ends up falling in love with the guy that she's actually supposed to be marrying, but then he ends up betraying her, and blah 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 blah. It's really convoluted and was quite boring. And then over here we have Children of the Whales, which focuses on a secluded island called Mudwell where loads of people live. They don't venture outside into the outside world, but through a ton of events they end up having to explore the outside world, and I think a lot of weird and strange things happen there. And then we got Fushigi Yugi, which was one of the first well-known isekais, I guess. I was never one of those people who read it when I was young, so I am not sure 100% what it's about, but I heard the main character is really whiny, but I'm really interested to try and read it and see all the classic shoujos. And then over here we have one more, which is Banana Fish. This one focuses on a drug called banana fish, and then there's two people who team up together to explore and find out the cause and the background behind that specific drug. There's a lot more that happens in Banana Fish, but that's pretty much my short description of it, and I think people describe it as very, very sad and also triggering, and there is hinted at a BL relationship in this one. And then the last one I have is Princess Jellyfish box set. I got this a while ago when I ended up reading a bunch of the chapters online before I committed to purchasing the box set. But this one is one of the most popular Akiko Higashimura's work, and it focuses on a girl who really, really likes jellyfish, and then she ends up being in like a boarding house of otakus, and then it just focuses on some really funny things that go on in that house, and then she meets a cross-dresser and they become really close friends, and just a lot of funny things happen. But yeah, I am excited to continue this one and finish the story.
So that was everything in my shoujo and josei collection. Hope you enjoyed seeing all that, and also hopefully I explained some series well enough that you will want to try them out. I do apologize in advance. I'm not the best at explaining series and making them sound good, but if you did find some interesting ones that you wanted to try out, definitely let me know down below. I love hearing your comments, as I always say. But yeah, thank you so much for all your support on my videos on this channel, and as always, I will see you in my next video. Bye!